I just want to go to Karen Pierce, one of my favorite guests on this show, any of the shows I do, the British ambassador to the United States. Ambassador, great to see you. No NATO membership for Ukraine in the middle of a war. That's the read you're getting from the President of the United States, although somewhat divided among NATO members. What do you think?
I think this is actually a good result. Fundamentally, what NATO has said is that Ukraine's future lies in NATO. Ukraine has to meet all the conditions that any NATO member or aspirant member would have to meet. But the path has been shortened because Ukraine won't have to go through an intermediate stage once NATO issues an invitation. It's worth recalling that Finland and Sweden, the newest members of the NATO alliance, they already met the NATO conditions. That's the reason their ability to get into NATO has been so quick.
But, Ambassador, isn't the fact of the matter that Finland and Sweden are in the middle of a war? And if they were to get in the middle of a war, obviously that would complicate things for them. It makes it very complicating for Ukraine. If not for that ongoing war, would this have already happened?
You make a good point about the war, Neil. NATO would not, I think, under any circumstances, admit a new member and then itself, by virtue of admitting a new member, become a party to any conflict. And the President, in fact, all of NATO has made that clear. NATO is not fighting Russia. NATO is supporting Ukraine to defend itself against Russia. But the conditions are the conditions. They've long been NATO's conditions of membership. Ukraine will need to meet those. But what the G7 have agreed to do is help Ukraine with reforms, help Ukraine with defense modernization, help Ukraine with its economy so that one day it will be in a position to meet those conditions.
How do you think this is going? Because from some of the NATO members, Ambassador, you get a feeling that 500 days into this or thereabouts, there's frustration that it's not wrapping up, that they're bogged down. It's going to drag on for a long period of time. The President has indicated that we're there as long as it takes. But do you think all NATO members are?
Yes, I do, Neil. Actually, everybody brings their own nuances to the table when you have a 32-strong alliance. Every member of NATO has its own concerns, but the unity and support for Ukraine, I think, is very impressive. And that's been the case pretty much from day one. Of course, there'll be internal debate about how best to do X or how best to support Ukraine and what capabilities. But fundamentally, NATO has come together in support not just of Ukraine, but of Euro-Atlantic security more broadly. You know that the front lines of this war are in Ukraine, but the threat Russia poses means the fault lines are all the way around the world.
I know the understanding, Ambassador, is to get involved in getting Ukraine NATO membership now risks broadening this conflict and obligating NATO members into this conflict as well. Yet we do have a move on the part of our own president and others. I don't know where your prime minister stands on providing more advanced weaponry, cluster bombs that are pretty destructive and lethal. And some have said would really rev this game up beyond what people fear. What do you think?
So in terms of giving advanced weaponry, we, the Brits, have been in the forefront here, giving a weapon called Storm Shadow,
That's right.
Which has really improved Ukrainian capability. On cluster munitions, which are the weapons you're talking about, Neil, we're in a different place to the United States. We have signed a convention that bans the use of cluster munitions, and we stand by that. The United States has not signed that convention, nor has Ukraine, and nor has Russia. And the reason the cluster munitions are needed, as I understand it, is because Russia has been using them in Ukraine. I don't myself think they change the nature or the trajectory. I don't think it's an escalation, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's an advanced weapon in the sense of precision missiles. In fact, they're not precision missiles, which is one reason why we have joined others in banning them. But the point I really want to get across is that Russia is using these, and Ukraine needs to defend herself against what Russia is doing. So the United States have taken this decision. I think the president has been on record as saying it was a a difficult decision, and I think we can all understand that. But the problem, once again, lies with Russia. If Russia doesn't want to see these weapons used, and if other states don't want to see them used, the place to go is Moscow, and to tell them to stop the war.
Real quickly then, Ambassador, I don't know what protocol was breached when our president, opted not to go to NATO's opening dinner, but it raised eyebrows because it's such a rare event. Some people had said it's because he'd been working hard 4 days straight, what have you. But what did you think of that?
Oh, I don't know, Neil. I mean, I think that's wholly a matter for the White House, not for me. But I would just note that even though I'm a civil servant, I have had the honor to sit in dinner places with leaders from around the world because my principal couldn't make the dinner. So I would say it's not unprecedented.
All right. I would never pass up a free dinner myself, Ambassador, so I just couldn't understand it.
You've not eaten them, Neil. I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions on Vilnius, and I'm sure the food was fantastic, but allow me to say that not every summit dinner is fantastic.
Okay.
Food-wise. It's always fantastic in terms of alliance building.
I got it. They all can't be held at the Olive Garden, can they? Ambassador, always great seeing you. Be well.
You too, Neil. Take care. Thank you.